The ARL-44 is a French Tier 6 heavy tank. France was the second largest tank builder in the world before World War II, mostly building light and medium tanks. During the occupied France, the CDM, or Camouflage du Matériel, a secret army organization, tried to produce materials to make a heavy tank. But in August 1944, Paris was freed from Germany. The new French government tried to help the Allied forces as much as possible. Before the fall of Germany and France, a full-sized ARL-44 was built out of wood. France wanted to build a heavy tank that could take care of the Tiger II, but the lack of engineers and the knowledge of building a heavy tank made the engineers go back to their previous drawings of the FCM F1 and the Char B1 and put them together. The original design for the ARL-44 had a 60mm armor in the front and a 75mm barrel. Later on in 1945, the ARL was refitted with a 120mm barrel. Eventually, the frontal armor was replaced from 60mm to 120mm and a 45-degree slant. The ARL-44 was later known as the transitional tank, because it helped the French experiment and learn how to make heavy tanks and not just slap a couple tanks together. There were only 60 ARL-44s ever made in the world. Now only 3 ARL-44s survive today. What's up everyone, WizardKen here with another Xbox 360 World of Tanks video. Now the new line we're going to be working on with the T25-2 is the French heavy line. Now we're starting out with the Tier 6 ARL-44. This tank, though it does have some weaknesses that we're going to go over, it's a pretty badass tank all around. To me anyways, that's how I feel about this tank. It has 820 hit points. It can go a speed of 37 kilometers an hour, so it's pretty close to doing the same amount of speed as the KV-1S. It's a pretty decent speed for a heavy tank. The whole armor on this thing is 120 in the front, 50 on the side, and 50 on the rear. As I said, it does have some crappy situations to it, like the side armor and the rear armor on the hull and on the turret are pretty bad. The frontal is not too bad. It's 120 in the front. Now for the turret, it's 100 in the front, 60 on the sides, and 60 on the rear. So you do gain 10 more armor on the side with this tank, but not a lot. The traverse speed for the turret is about 20 degrees a second, which is not terrible. The view range is 320 meters. Now, the thing you guys need to know about this tank is that even though it's classified as a heavy tank, it is not one of those tanks that you just go all frontal like a KV-1S or, like a Churchill and stuff like that, who, can take some damage and can ricochet some things. Now, this thing does have a slanted front, but this is not really designed for all-out brawling. I mean, if it has to, it can. But this tank, and a lot of tankers have said this, is more of a sit back behind your friends a little bit and take some shots. This thing has pretty decent accuracy with 105mm, but it really has amazing accuracy with the 90mm that you get on the last package. Now, right now, we currently have the 105mm, and it does a decent amount of damage. But before we get into all the details on that, let's look at the armor on this thing and really get into the nitty-gritty of what is good about this tank and what is bad. Now, starting on the front of this tank, as you can see, it's pretty damn well sloped, but it's kind of got the way the tracks stick out a little bit past the front hull, or the upper plate, is kind of shitty. It's kind of like the Churchills, and those are nasty spots to get pinned at or on either side. So even though you're angled, if somebody's smart or they know how to play this tank or what the weaknesses are, you know, if you angle yourself kind of like this, you're going to see this tank get shot in those spots. So trying to angle this tank is a good thing, but also results in giving your enemy some easy spots to hit, because those are not just small areas. They're pretty easy to hit. Now, it does have a decent amount of armor in the front, like we said, but it's still, you still need to be cautious with it. Now, if you look at the lower plate, it's pretty decent in the sense of how slanted that is. Now, I have ricocheted at the bottom of the lower plate before, so that's a pretty neat attribute that you can get with this tank. But of course, the lower plate is one of the weakest spots. If you look at there on the left side, there is a, you know, two headlights on the left side over here where there's a pickaxe kind of sticking out. Right underneath that headlight, you can see like a little gunner port right there. That is a pretty nasty spot to hit right in there, and you can see that all in the pictures where this thing could be hit there pretty easily if it's not slanted. Also, where the tools on the left side are, you can see on the left side there's a viewport. If you shoot there, you're going to hit, you know, the gunner and stuff like that. You could take out the commander and stuff. Now, on the right side, the same problem. Now, we don't have a gunner port over here, so it doesn't give somebody something to really hurt. But also that viewport that runs all the way up and down, that's where the driver sits. If anybody shoots through there, your driver's going to be hurt and killed, or, you know, something. Now, me personally, I have been shot in the front a lot, and I haven't had a problem with the people dying. I've had KV-1S's shoot at me, and also other tanks that have pretty good pen, like the Churchills and stuff like that, and even TDs, where they do penetrate me, but they don't do any damage to my commander or my drivers or anything like that. Now, moving up to the turret, you can see on the left side there's like this little, okay, if you're looking at the actual barrel and you go back all the way to where it connects into the turret, on this little left side there's like this little awkward little box thing, and I'm guessing that's some kind of aiming mechanism for the gunner. I'm guessing that's how he possibly could be aiming. It could also be that little dot on the front before it connects to the barrel, but I'm going to say that's some kind of aiming mechanism or viewport of some sort, and that is an easy spot to hit and to take damage on. And of course, the commander's hatch, or the hatch, is a pretty nasty spot to get hit. So on the front, there are a couple of spots that are pretty nasty if you get hit. So let's move to the side and see what other problems we have. I didn't mention this on the front part of the tank, but on the front and on the sides and the rear, you can see that these tracks are completely exposed. Now, the nice thing is it does have spaced armor in the sense that it's protecting the main part of the hole on the side, but it's not very thick. Like we said, it's only 50 on the side, so anybody can shoot through there with regular rounds. Now, if someone's using HE, you have a better chance of not really taking too much damage and your tracks actually absorbing. Sorry about that, I was about to sneeze. Your tracks actually absorbing the damage. So if you're shooting at this tank, I highly recommend just using regular armor piercing rounds, your standard rounds. So looking at this thing real quick, if we're using regular armor piercing rounds, of course where the front track or the front wheel would be on most tanks, that is a damaging spot, and also the rear spoked wheel is also a nasty damaging spot. Now you can see there's like a little, if you move just left of the rear on the lower part of the hole, you can see there's like a door right there, so they can repair the tracks and stuff like that and get inside and do some interior work. Right there is a nasty spot to hit, because you could catch this thing on fire or hit the gas tanks and stuff like that, and possibly catch it on fire the next time. Right after that, there's nothing there. There's like a little hole, and then there's, you know, a flat piece of metal, and then the door. That flat piece of metal is actually a nasty spot to hit. That is where you're going to see the ammo. That's where they're going to store the ammo and everything. That's a good spot to do an ammo rack. Also, moving up to the top of the turret, right in the center, if you look from the commander's hatch and you follow that just straight down where you get to the side, if you shoot in there, it's going to be a nasty spot to hit because that's where the commander and gunner are going to be, and you can hurt them. Now, if you look at where the French symbol is, you can shoot there, and that is another storage spot for ammo. So there's 2 spots to hit this thing for ammo and possibly ammo rack this thing. So, moving to the rear. Now in the rear, we're going to start at the bottom of the hole. Pretty much all this area is for, funs and giggles and whatever you want to do to it. You're going to hit the engine, you're going to catch it on fire, you're going to take out the engine, stuff like that. Now, moving up to the turret, you can see there's a gap between the hull and the turret. If you shoot there, that is also another spot that you can ammo rack this tank. Also, you can see kind of like this thing has a parachute on the back. It's pretty funny. It's actually probably like a tarp cover for the tank. But if you go just left of that, you could shoot the spot where we were talking about on this on the side where the ammo rack is. You could shoot it there and also ammo rack this tank. It's a pretty nasty spot on this tank to hit. Going to the other side, same thing. Of course, the back of the track and the front of the track is a nice spot to hit if you want to damage this tank. Anywhere you hit on this track, you're going to track this thing. I mean, I've been tracked in this thing a lot. That is one of the downfalls of this tank. So getting your crew up on the repairs and having repair kits with you is very good. Now the same thing where that little door is, you could catch this thing on fire, and just to the right of it in the flat armored area where there's nothing protruding out, you can shoot there and ammo rack this thing. Now the difference is on this side of the turret, unlike the other side, there is nothing stored up here in the sense of ammo. So if you shoot the back end of this thing, you're just going to damage the tank. You're not going to have that chance of possibly ammo racking this thing and doing a high roll damage. If you look at where this little part is protruding out of the side of the turret, it looks like a big rectangle area. That thing right there is a good spot to shoot to, of course, hurt the commander. That's the commander's hatch. He's going to be sitting in there. If you move just to the little front area where like these 3 little cylinders, long cylinders are at, you can shoot there, and that's going to take up the gunner. So looking at this tank, you could sit there and say, wow, this thing's got a lot of problems to it. And it does. That's why on the intro I wanted to explain why the French were starting to design this tank, but then why they stopped. Because this is a combination of a whole bunch of different tanks, like light to medium tanks that they're used to building. They've never really built a heavy tank before. And they needed something to deal with the Tiger IIs and the bigger German tanks. And even the Americans, the Allied forces were trying to build tanks that could deal with the nasty German Tiger IIs, and even the Tigers. I mean, they were a pain in the ass. If you guys watched the Fury movie, especially that fight with the Tiger, I mean, that was just a ferocious, nasty battle. You could just see how badly one of those tanks could take out, multiple tanks. But like I said, they used a lot of different parts from a lot of different tanks and put this together. I mean, of course, they didn't use like the body and this and that. I mean, they made that from pretty much scratch. But France was under a lot of problems because they were occupied for so long. A lot of infrastructure, a lot of manufacturers and stuff like that were demolished. And remember, France was the number 2 in the world in tank building. I mean, the first was the Russians. They were the primary tank builders in the world before World War II, and then France was the second. And if they were having a problem getting metals, of course, I mean, asking for help and this and that probably was going to be a hard thing too, because everybody else was probably struggling getting their materials to be able to build things. So that's why, they tried putting some of these, materials from other tanks together. Plus, they didn't know how to build a heavy tank. They were just trying to figure it out. That's why this is called the transitional tank, because they wanted to, it was a great learning tank. It was a great one to learn off of, and this eventually helped them produce the AMX and stuff like that, the better, higher tier tanks that we're going to get to. Now, but we haven't got to the best part of this tank, why I love this tank. Now, I do like the sloped armor, but there's a lot of problems, like I said, of the whole tank by itself. If you look at this tank and the equipment, now you start out with a 76 millimeter, and it shoots about 16 rounds a minute. Okay, not bad. It does 128 pen and 115 damage. Not exactly the amount of damage you want to be doing in a tier 6. Moving up just one, you go to a 90 millimeter, which does 135 pen and 240 damage. So a good increase on penetration and damage, but you do lose a hell of a lot in the sense of, rounds per minute. I mean, you go 7 rounds to, from 16 rounds to 7 rounds. So you're pretty much cutting yourself in half almost, pretty much on this thing. Moving on to the next package, you get a 90 millimeter. You don't gain a 90 millimeter. You just gain the track and a different turret. Now, this is why they originally, this tank was just like put together, and then they eventually built a different turret for this tank. If you look at this turret, I'm going to show you this thing. Look how big and bulky that thing is. That's how this thing, it looks like they took a boiler from a boiler room and they put this thing on top and they welded a barrel on it. That's really what it looks like they did with this tank originally. Now you would say, hey, well, it's like the KV2 and you could put a big gun on this. Not really. Apparently, from reading up on stuff like that, the turrets couldn't handle the bigger guns. That's why they kept with the smaller 76 and stuff like that until they were able to put a better turret on there, which is where we get with the other turrets. Now, eventually you do get a upgraded 90 millimeter. It goes 170 and does 240 damage. Pretty much the damage stays the same with the 90 millimeters. It's just the amount of penetration that you can get out of them. The rate of fire pretty much stays the same. Now, real quick, we're to show what I'm on right now. I'm on the 105 millimeter. I've tried the original 76, and then I went straight up to 105 because I knew these 90 millimeters would have been okay, but I know 105 millimeter is my cup of tea. I love heavy tanks with a big barrel. So when I went to the 105, look at the damage increase. Now, we do reduce in penetration, but only by 5. So, 165 is not bad. And then the damage is 300. Now, this thing can actually put a hurting on a KV-1S. I've taken KV-1Ss out, no joke, in 2 shots. Now, that's not always the case because you are having the roll of dice factor, and there are chances that you're going to roll a nasty, like, we'll just say, like 300 or 275. I've had that happen, and it took me about 3, almost 4 shots to kill the KV-1S, but I have had it where it's done high rolls, and I've hurt the KV-1S and killed it in 2 shots, which is pretty badass. This thing does do almost a rate of fire of 6 rounds a minute. Now, if you get your crew up, you should be able to do better with this thing. Now, the next thing, and the last barrel you can get, and this is pretty badass. Now, on the T25-2, you've seen our last barrel is not a tier 8. It's only like a tier 7 barrel. It sucks ass. It ricochets a lot and this and that. Now, the 90 millimeter on this is pretty badass because it goes up to a tier 8. So you have a tier 6 heavy that has a fucking tier 8 barrel. That is pretty badass. Now, we do lose our 300 damage, yes, but look at our penetration, 212, 6 rounds a minute. Okay, 212 penetration. You can handle going against some fucking, tier 8s with this thing. Not all tier 8s, but you can handle going against some tier 8s with this thing. And that's why this thing is nasty. Now, the aim time on a lot of these barrels, like 3 seconds and 40. 3 seconds and 40. That's a long time. So we're going to have to put some equipment on this eventually. The accuracy on this thing is 37 and 41, which is pretty fucking sweet. Right now we're at 40 and 44. And as you guys have seen on the little intro video, stuff like that, this tank has been pretty dead on. Now, if I don't let the retinas zoom in all the way, of course I'm going to miss. But when I do let it zoom in all the way, it's pretty dead on. And once I get the 90mm, I'm going to be a devastating tank because, one, I'm going to do all the pen in the world. And two, I'm going to be accurate. I'm going to be pretty accurate, which is pretty nice. Now, a lot of players and even a lot of the wikis that I've looked at on this tank suggest that even though this is a heavy tank, it is not to be played full frontal. Like I said, you need to play it back a little bit. And this is why. Because you have so many damaging spots on that tank, you're going to be taken out pretty quickly. You only have, 800 and something hit points. But because you have the accuracy, you could stay back and snipe like a boss with this tank. Now, the last thing you guys are probably thinking is, why, WizardKen, you never go off the beaten trail. You always just do the barrel that gets you up to the next tank. And then you just keep playing. You never go back and do the barrels. Now, if you look at these barrels, okay, we'll look at the 105 millimeter Canon 13TR and then the 90 millimeter DCA 45. If we look at the AMX M4, let's go right into that and look. Look at that. The 105 is there. It costs $33,000 to get. Look at that. The 105 is there. Look at that. The 90mm is there. Okay? The 90mm is already there, guys. That means if I go ahead and buy these things right now, these packages, the only thing I'm going to pay for is the engine and tracks. This one, a turret, engine, and track. This one, nothing, because all that stuff's going to be unlocked. The barrel's going to be unlocked. So I'm going to actually be saving money in the long run. And why wouldn't you want to have a tier 6 that has something that your next tank's going to have? And that could take out tier 8s. Who wouldn't want to have that shit? So that's my recommendation on doing this tank in that sense. Crew, nothing special about them. They're a brand new crew. So we're working on, once they get maxed out on this tank, we will be working on the repairs and stuff like that. Consumables, of course, you want to do your repair kit, small, first aid, and manual. Now, I have been saying this wrong for a long time, and I'm a dumbass for saying it. Large repair kits, okay, they cost about 50 gold to get. Now, if you read up on this thing, it doesn't automatically repair you. I thought it did. Actually, the only thing that's automatic is the fire extinguisher. Now, the cool thing about the large repair kit is that it will repair not just one module. Like sometimes you get tracked, or maybe your turret goes out and your gun goes out and and we'll just say you can't reload as quick. Your ammo's gone. Anyways, this will repair all the modules that are damaged. So you get basically a brand fresh new tank, except for your hit points. You still are whatever your damage is at, which is really nice. Now, if you don't use this at all, like you just save your large repair kit and don't use it at all, you get a 10% quickness on your repair module. So if you have repairs already unlocked on your crew, and you have this on there, and you have toolbox on your tank, then you're going to be a fast motherfucker on repairing anything that's broken on your tank. Now, the downside to this thing is that it is still 50 gold. I don't believe yet you can't change whether you can use silver or not. So, at least I can't tell because I have too many reserves because I've been doing a lot of the ops. Anyways, so that wouldn't be a bad thing to do, but I'm still going with the small repair kits because I have like, it's not going to say, but let me see what it says. Okay, it's not going to do it. Anyways, I don't know why it's being like this. Here, let's go back in there and look at it. I've got so many in reserve, it's not even funny. I got 19 in reserve, so why not keep using them? And then I'll go to my large repair kit. Anyways, the rounds I'm using is just standard rounds and high explosives. I really haven't had to use anything else. I mean, I could use the higher gold rounds, the armor piercing ones. But the thing is I do gain a little bit more penetration and some more damage, but really, to be honest with you, I'm pretty happy with the way this 105 is working. Now, equipment, I haven't done anything with this yet, but when I get it going, I will be putting on there the large caliber tank gun rammer, the enhanced gun lane drive, and a toolbox. That is what I'm going to put on this tank because, to be honest with you, coated optics and binoculars are not going to really help this tank out, but the toolbox, because we get tracked a lot, will help, because this thing does take about I believe it's about 10 seconds to reload. We'll check on that when we go and play. It's a pretty long reload. It's kind of like the ELC, so you're gonna want to have this on there, and also the enhanced gun lane drive. You want to get those retinals, you're aiming in there as quickly as possible, so this will definitely be a help for that. Anyways, guys, let's take this out. I know you guys have watched some of the intro stuff, but let's take this out and talk about it while we're playing. Alrighty, guys, we're on Mine Standard Battle, and it looks like we have some Tier 7s, so, but nothing we have to really worry about. We have a barrel that can handle Tier 7s. Now, the thing I hate about playing on Tier 6, guys, and starting on a Tier 6 tank, is you're still playing with a whole bunch of newbie players. I mean, nothing wrong with newbie players. They're still trying to learn it. God bless you for trying to learn the game. But the problem is that you get dumbasses that want to go ways that you know are terrible to go. Like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Right now, they're way out there in the open. They're going to get spotted pretty easily. Now, I am going pretty much the same way, except I'm staying further away like I've done in the past, and I use this side to my advantage a lot. Now, these guys are going to sit up there because they've learned, hey, that's how I do things in this game. And I'm going to tell you, it's a shitty spot to go. Now, let's see if Artie's going to shoot at us. If not, we're going to back our asses up, and we're going to get ready to shoot at anything up here. Now, the bigger turret on this thing is nice because it does allow you to have great turret depression, and I mean, you get to look over a rock and go pew 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 and do some damage. Unlike this turret, where you don't get that. 327 damage on a Tiger. Oh, ammo rack by a Hellcat. That is nasty. I've done that before. That is fucking nasty. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try for that guy. But as I was saying, I mean, this is pretty nasty. 105 millimeter doing 300 plus damage. It's pretty nasty. Oh gosh, my round had to go up on that one. All in all, I'm happy with the way this thing is acting. Like I said, the 105 is not going to be as accurate as the 90 millimeter, and we're just going to have to give it time for it to, you know, for us to get to that point in on this tank and stuff. So, you know, we're going to have to take a pop shot. Yep. I should have just shot the right way. I thought somebody else was going to get him, so we'll take a pop shot here. Nope, nothing. I thought he was still there. Oh, he is there. I just missed. Alright, we gotta look at our reload time too, because I want to check on that. About 10 seconds, guys. Roughly 10 seconds. That's what it looks like. Ooh, there's a Tog up here. I would love to shoot at a booty. Come here, booty Tog. Booty Tog. Boop. Oh, man. I didn't go through. That's really odd. Look at that tank go through, man. I swear to God, he's like a battleship. If he wasn't so fucking slow, he'd be like the beast of beast of beast. He really would be. He is actually a beast tank. Really is. Can we hit him? Please. Oh, man, we're going to ricochet. If we use HE, we'd probably be able to hurt him. So. But that is a beast tank. I'm going to get one eventually one day. Just not at this moment in time. Now, I know these guys are probably thinking, why in the world is this guy staying back? He is not doing anything as a heavy. Well, because my armor is not there to be a heavy. As you guys know, this thing is not going to be one of those devastators like that. This thing is going to die pretty quick. There's the Tog. I just can't get a good shot on the Tog. And I wish I could. And that T-29 is just tearing people up. If these guys would back the fuck away and let these guys come down, I could shoot them from here. And we could possibly just like keep hurting them from a distance. But apparently this guy over here wants to keep like pulling out. Nope, he's gonna... Oh, nice. Panzer SFL. I was just making fun of you. Now, we've only done 2 shots on this game, but oh well. Oh well. I'm not going to go in there and get my ass kicked, because I only have 820 hit points. I don't have... Oh, shit. This could be a problem. This could definitely be a problem. I don't think they see me yet. I don't. But it could be problematic if they do come out. Come on, guys. All you gotta do is come out here and play with me. Come play with me, 'cause I want to kill you. I'm gonna rush you, 'cause of course. Magical bastard. I'm not a slow tank, so it's kind of one of those things like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, Jack Panther. Ah, I hit his fucking tracks because I didn't aim in. Shit. Reload, reload, reload. Come on. Alright, that's alright. Tracks damage. That's it. We're good. Alrighty. I'm not going out that way, dude. I tell you that right now. Because we're going to get shot from the hill. Those guys are waiting for us. Guys are waiting for us. I got to move up here. Hopefully get the T-29. That's what I'm hoping for. There we go. Side shot. Come on. Zoom it in. Boop. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, man. The Tog got him. Not good. We got to get down here. We've got to save the day. But as you can see, it's not a bad tank. I mean, we've taken a hard hit from Artie, which, of course, no armor on this thing. There we go. Got him. Got to keep moving because of fucking Artie. Got to turn ourselves so that Artie doesn't fuck me over. Alright, who's left? Hellcat. That could be possibly problematic. He's going to reload quicker than I am. But I'm hoping that he ricochets off of me. Allows me to get that extra shot in there and take him out. And plus, we still have to worry about the M44. That little bastard. Alright, I'm going to try to stay next to this rock so I don't get my ass kicked by the fucking Artie. Alright, I'm going straight at it. Ah, fuck. There goes my driver. No! I should have slowed down and tried to angle more. Alright guys, 39,000 in silver. Oh, we got Mastery Badge number 3. 1,474 in experience points. Now, wow, we came in first place. We did 1,386. Now, we did 12 shots fired. 12 of them actually hit, but 7 are did the penetration. So, enemies damage 7. Not bad. Not bad at all. We took out 3 tanks. Remember, guys, we're using 105 on here, so we're not going to be the most accurate thing in the world. Once we get our 90, we'll be a lot better. We won't be able to do the damage we do, which is kind of sad, and I believe that's like an 8-second reload. So, but the 105 is not a bad barrel on this thing. I have to say, it's not bad at all. I really do like this tank. As I showed you guys, it does have some weaknesses, and it was exploited pretty nicely by the enemy team. Unfortunately, half of that was from the fucking Artie, which is, yeah, we're not gonna say anything, but not bad at all though. We did pretty good. Alrighty, guys. Well, this is the ARL 44. We're gonna do probably another video on this thing once we unlock the 90mm, so we can show that off. I really do not have that much left to go on that, to be honest with you. Yeah, 18,000 to research it. We have 14,000, so not bad at all. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys like the new intro. Let me know if you do or not. I'm just trying to improve and make the quality of these videos less boring and more, you know, videos like this, I like to be kind of serious and try to get to the main points of these tanks. Really try to inform you guys. Now, other videos, I love saying stupid shit and being stupid and still having a lot of fun and stuff like that, but on these I try to keep these as educational as possible, unless I completely fuck up on the information and stuff like that, and then it's just a heap of shit. Anyways, I'm WizardKen, guys. Until next time, see ya.